So I was recently accused of being a moralist, to which I say, guilty as charged, Your Honor. I confess to wanting to differentiate right from wrong. But in my defense, my accuser is also a moralist, or else he wouldn't condemn me for this. Um, so, you see, morality gets a bad rap these days. When we hear the word morality, we tend to associate it with the fundamentalist family values crowd. Um, and frankly, just as I'm not willing to concede the word Christianity to them and say that only that they're the only ones who are Christians, I'm not willing to concede the word morality to them and say that they have monopoly on morality. No, in fact, in my opinion, they are immoral, and and when they say that homosexuality is immoral, I say no, bigotry is immoral. When they say smoking pot is immoral, I say no, the war on drugs is immoral. Um, so I think that morality, justice, and fairness are still relevant to the human condition, um, and and I think it's kind of tragic that we've kind of let the sort of far right wing have these words and sort of it's become a dirty word among progressives. Um, in classical philosophy, ancient Greek philosophy, there were three categories of the universe. There was the good, the beautiful, and the true, or, um, which are respectively morals, art, and science. So, and then later under the Enlightenment, it kind of the science was kind of put up on the pedestal, and then art and morality were kind of subsumed under it. And then in postmodernity, philosophers just sought to reduce all of that stuff to the purely subjective. That what's true for me isn't true for you. What's right for me isn't what's right for you. It's that my truth is my truth. Morality. What's good is good for me. Um, and while I think there is something to be said for the perspectival um, notion about these things, I do think they belong in certain proper spheres that are not necessarily completely individual subjective. I think the beautiful belongs in the subjective realm, though even there is a lot of shared beauty. There's a lot of shared, yeah, the experience of beauty does have a sort of shared component to it. But the good, morality, and justice and fairness, I think, is pretty. It seems pretty clear to me that it belongs to the intersubjective realm, the realm of we, how we interact with each other. Um, so and so from that perspective, I can immediately cross smoking pot off the immoral list because that's an individual decision. It involves only the individual and no one else, and you know, um, and so we can say it has nothing to do with morality. Now, if the pot came from some Colombian drug lord who killed a bunch of judges for it, then yeah, okay, we can make arguments about where the stuff comes from and what sort of things you're supporting, but the act itself cannot be immoral. Um, yeah, and then but then we talk about transactions between individuals, you know, voluntary interaction. A lot of we tend to think of involuntary things as immoral. That if you force someone to do something, then it's immoral. But I mean, I think, but of course, we also make exceptions for that in terms of punishment or in terms of achieving justice. Like like if say you break it, you bought it. You broke that vase in the store. They paid good money for it. You gotta shell out the cash because that's only fair. So yeah, things that are involuntary as a result of your voluntary action are, that can still be moral. Um, yeah, and then we get into voluntary transactions, and I know someone like Cashify wants to say that any voluntary transaction is okay, and we can't condemn any of those. Whereas I would say that there's different degrees of consent. We certainly recognize this in pedophilia laws, where we recognize that a child, even if they may consent, they aren't capable of giving informed consent, because they haven't reached psychosexual maturity. Yeah, and then there's all, and then I would add to the list exploitation and things where you don't necessarily have a gun to the person's head, but they're in dire straits, and you take advantage of their weakness by offering them really shady conditions. So yeah, that's why I think that sweatshop owners, the conditions that a lot of people are made to work under are shady and immoral. Um, and so, now we get to legislating morality, and this is one thing I've heard a lot of people talk about and say, "Oh no, you shouldn't legislate morality," or all these, and again they're thinking of that fundamentalist puritanical morality that seems to monopolize the term morality these days. But I would have a problem with any legal system that had nothing to do with morality. Um, you know, Murder is wrong. That's why it's illegal. Theft is wrong. That's why it's illegal. There's, but I think what we want to avoid here is that not everything that's immoral should be illegal. Um, and that's because in the law you have to take certain pragmatic considerations where, since the law involves force, you have to wonder if using force to stop something causes worse consequences than the thing itself. And so that's why I think that, for example, um, although adultery I think is immoral, I don't think it should be illegal. Although clearly it should enter into consideration when when the couple is in like divorce court or something, and they're trying to determine alimony or custody, things like that. Um, Similarly, lying should not be illegal, even though it's usually immoral. Although clearly we do make exceptions. Lying under oath, for example, is illegal. Um, so yeah, I mean there's with law, I think law should be something that has to do with morality. It's just that you have to balance the immorality of the thing you want to punish um, with the moral consequences of using of what amount of force you're using to regulate it. So, and that's why obviously some things ought to be fines that you pay. Uh, you know you shouldn't go to jail for going 10 miles over the speed limit, but we can regulate it and say, okay, well you got to pay this amount because you broke the law. Um, so so yeah, I think the the symbol of law is the scales. That this you have this aspect on one end, and then you have the counterbalancing idea in order to achieve some sort of justice. And some things, I think we determine are better upheld by social convention rather than by law. Um, and so so I think law and morality need to go together, but we have to understand the legal ramifications of law itself. So I guess I'll leave it there for now. Peace.